After 9 years of marriage, I discovered my wife was cheating on me. But the betrayal didn't stop there. She gaslit me, tried to ruin my career, and nearly destroyed my sanity. This is the true story of how I gathered evidence, exposed her manipulation, and took back control of my life. It's a story of deception, revenge, and unexpected consequences. You won't believe how far she went, and how I turned the tables. So, here I am, 36 years old, sitting in a cheap hotel room with my laptop, typing this because I need to let it out somewhere. I've been a lurker on Reddit for years, but never posted. But this is too much to carry alone. I thought I had a perfect marriage. Or at least a solid one. Married 9 years, no kids, by choice, we were career-focused, and we had what I thought was a partnership built on mutual respect. My wife, Sarah, fake name, obviously, was confident, beautiful, incredibly sharp, and yes, she could be a bit cold, sometimes manipulative, but I chalked that up to her corporate background. She was a lawyer. I'm in software engineering. We met through mutual friends. She had this magnetic energy. When she walked into a room, people noticed. Including me. She had this way of making you feel like you were the only one that mattered, and later, I realized that was her greatest weapon. The first few years were amazing. We both worked a lot, but we always found time for weekend getaways, long talks, laughter. She wasn't the most affectionate person, but I thought that was just her love language being different. I compensated by being extra patient, understanding. And honestly, I adored her. But something changed about a year ago. It started small. She became more distant. More work trips. More girls' nights out. Less sex. Fewer meaningful conversations. When I brought it up, she'd snap. Not everything is about you, Mark. Why do you always need reassurance? Maybe if you were more ambitious, I wouldn't feel like I'm dragging deadweight. That one hit me hard. I'm not a slacker, I make good money, I've moved up in my company, and I've always supported her unconditionally. But suddenly I was not enough. She even suggested I should hit the gym more. Said she was tired of always being the attractive one in the couple. I remember laughing it off. God, I was such a fool. The first big red flag happened in February. She went to a conference in Chicago. Said it was a last-minute opportunity. I offered to go with her. She rolled her eyes and told me I'd just be bored and in the way. Something about her tone felt cruel. Not just annoyed. Dismissive. I dropped her off at the airport. Except, she never flew to Chicago. 3 days later, I got curious. I'd never snooped before, but something didn't sit right. So I checked our shared credit card statement. Charge at a boutique hotel in Miami. Another for dinner at a rooftop restaurant I knew she'd wanted to try, with me. My heart sank. I confronted her when she got back. She denied everything. I had a layover. The firm booked it, I didn't choose the hotel. Jesus, are you seriously stalking me now? She turned it into my issue. Said I was paranoid. That I clearly didn't trust her. And somehow, I apologized. That was the beginning of my unraveling. Over the next few months, I noticed patterns. Her phone was always face down. Random calls she'd take outside. Sudden work emergencies on weekends. A second perfume I didn't recognize. One night, I finally broke. I installed a tracking app on her phone. I know, it's wrong. But at that point, I needed to know the truth or I was going insane. And that's when it hit me like a freight train. She wasn't working late. She was going to someone's apartment. Same address. Every Tuesday and Thursday night. So I followed her. And what I saw shattered me. She walked into a luxury condo. Buzzed in. Smiling. I waited in the parking garage. After an hour, I saw him. Tall. Fit. Early 40s. Well-dressed. The type of guy you'd see in a cologne ad. and he kissed her like he owned her. My stomach twisted. I snapped a picture with my phone. I couldn't even cry. I just drove home in silence. That night, I didn't say a word. I just lay in bed, next to her, staring at the ceiling while she scrolled through Instagram and told me she was too tired for sex. I started gathering evidence. I found out the guy's name, Eric. Divorced. Worked in finance. She met him through a legal consulting gig 6 months prior. Probably longer. But here's where things got dark. And I mean dark. When I confronted her, finally, with everything, photos, receipts, even a recorded phone call she had while driving, thanks to my car's synced Bluetooth, she didn't cry. She didn't apologize. She smirked. Wow. You've really gone full psycho, huh? Then she dropped the bomb. You want to play dirty? I'll ruin you. She told me if I tried to divorce her, she'd accuse me of abuse. Said she'd claim I'd been controlling, tracking her phone, invading her privacy. Said the courts would side with her because she's a woman and a lawyer and I'm just a tech bro with anxiety. I was speechless. She even had screenshots of texts she twisted out of context. Fragments of arguments where I'd cursed. Times I'd said I'm losing my mind. She'd been preparing this. She knew I'd find out eventually, and she'd laid a minefield of plausible deniability and character assassination to destroy me. That was the moment I realized I wasn't married to a person. I was married to a predator. She threatened to go to HR at my company. Said she'd make anonymous reports about me being emotionally unstable and inappropriate with female coworkers. I don't even have female coworkers I speak to outside meetings. She knew that in today's world, perception matters more than truth. That even an accusation, even without proof, could wreck my job, my reputation. I was in shock. You think I haven't dealt with men like you before, she said. You think they ever win? And just like that, my wife of 9 years became my enemy. No, my assassin. But I wasn't going to let her destroy me. I started playing the long game. Quietly. I backed up every piece of evidence I had onto multiple drives. Hidden cloud accounts. I started keeping a journal with timestamps, screenshots, GPS logs, and voice memos. I played the role of the broken, clueless husband. I smiled. I cooked dinner. I offered back rubs. I said, I love you with dead eyes. She thought I'd given up. I could see it in how careless she became. And that's when the plan started. My best friend Jake is an attorney. I hadn't told him much until that point, but when I finally opened up, he dropped everything and came to my house that night. He took one look at my evidence folder and said, we're going to bury her. We hired a private investigator. A damn good one. Within 2 weeks, he tracked Eric's entire life, divorce records, financials, and, get this, Eric had a record. Nothing major, but enough, a DUI and a workplace harassment complaint that got quietly settled. Gold. Even better? The PI caught video of Sarah slapping Eric in a restaurant during what seemed like a lover's spat. Clear as day. Public. Witnesses. Now I had leverage. Jake crafted a strategy. First, we'd hit her with divorce papers completely out of the blue. But not just divorce, fault divorce for adultery, mental cruelty, and emotional distress. In our state, that still matters. And with the PI's evidence, she'd lose everything. But we didn't stop there. Jake filed for an emergency financial injunction. Froze our shared accounts before she could drain them. I transferred my personal funds to a private credit union account. Then came the piece de resistance. I reported her affair to her law firm's ethics board. Anonymous tip. Attached photographic proof of her using her position and client trips to carry out the affair. They launched an internal review. She had no idea. 2 weeks later, I served her the papers at dinner. I made steak. Her favorite. She laughed at some trashy reality show while sipping red wine. Then I slid the envelope across the table. What the hell is this? Her hands were shaking. She opened it and scanned the pages. Then again. Then a third time. She looked up at me, pale. You can't do this. I already did. You psycho. You're going to regret this. I'll ruin you. I swear to God, I will. Actually, I said, you already tried. I played a recording. A snippet from our argument, the one where she threatened to lie to HR, destroy me, fabricate abuse. Her face drained completely. You recorded me? Every word. The next week was chaos. She tried to bluff. Tried to cry. Then rage. Then bargaining. Told me we could start over, go to therapy. Said she still loved me. That was rich. Then came the call from her firm. She was suspended pending investigation. Her face when she got that call? Priceless. She stormed into my office, screaming about how I was ruining her career. Said I was a vindictive little man. I just smiled and said, you tried to destroy my life. I'm just leveling the playing field. She moved out a week later. Eric didn't take her in, guess he wasn't ready for baggage. She rented a cheap apartment, tried to freeze our divorce proceedings with counterclaims. Didn't work. The judge sided with me. Full victory. I kept the house. I kept my retirement. She had to pay part of my legal fees. And the firm eventually let her go quietly, better than a public scandal. But the best part? I sent an anonymous email to Eric's company, with attachments. Turns out he was dating Sarah while also sleeping with another female employee. Violated company policy. Eric got fired, too. You'd think that would be the end. It wasn't. So, a few months pass. The divorce is finalized. I'm trying to rebuild. Therapy. Long walks. Deleted our wedding photos. I even started sleeping again without checking my phone every hour. I thought it was over. Then I got a letter. Not an email. Not a call. A letter, hand-delivered to my office. Inside, a subpoena. Sarah was suing me for defamation and intentional interference with professional relationships. She was claiming that I'd fabricated the affair, harassed her, and purposely sabotaged her legal career out of malicious jealousy. She even had a new lawyer, a real attack dog, and they were demanding damages of over $250,000. It felt like I'd been punched in the throat. But the worst part? She attached photos of me and a woman I'd gone on 3 dates with. She had been stalking me. Following me. Digging into my life to use against me. And this is where it hit me. She didn't care about money. She wanted to destroy me. I sat with Jake. We reviewed everything. Her claims were nonsense, legally weak, but dangerous in the wrong judge's hands. So Jake said, if she wants war, we give her war. And that's when we dug deeper. Jake hired a digital forensics expert. We subpoenaed her cloud backups. She hadn't wiped them properly. What we found? Nuclear. Full chat logs with Eric and another man. Screenshots of her mocking me. Notes planning to trigger me emotionally during the divorce to provoke a reaction. Even a voice memo where she literally said, he's too weak to fight me. I'll bury him with his own politeness. But the kicker? She had saved videos. Intimate ones. With Eric. In hotel rooms. Timestamped. Face visible. Her voice. Her laughter. And in one of them, she was wearing my shirt. We turned it all over to our legal team. The court date arrived. Sarah walked in like she was the victim of a tragic love story. Wore a white blouse, minimal makeup, fake tears. She testified first. Gave a passionate speech about how I was controlling, obsessed, emotionally unstable. Said she feared for her safety. She even pulled out a fake diary, one she must have written after the fact, filled with fake entries like, "Mark yelled at me again. I don't know how much longer I can survive this." Then it was my turn. Jake didn't flinch. One by one, he presented our evidence. Timeline. Videos. GPS logs. The recording of her threats. The cloud files. Then he played the video, just 10 seconds, of her laughing while calling me a pathetic placeholder. She turned pale. The courtroom was dead silent. The judge recessed for 10 minutes. When we returned, Sarah's attorney asked to withdraw the suit. Sarah looked like she was going to vomit. That should have been the final chapter. But a month later, I got a call from her mother. Yeah. Her mom. Turns out, Sarah had been lying to her whole family, told them I was a violent narcissist who tore her down every day. So when her mom found out the truth from one of her cousins, who'd seen the court documents online, she called me. Apologized. Said she was ashamed. Said Sarah had done this before, to 2 ex-boyfriends. One of them had tried to take his own life after she framed him for abuse. That's when I realized. This wasn't just about betrayal. It was about escaping a narcissistic predator before she could fully consume me. It's been 6 months now. I've moved cities. New job. New apartment. Cut all contact. I'm seeing someone, slowly, carefully. She knows what I've been through. Sometimes I still wake up in a cold sweat. Sometimes I see Sarah's name in my inbox and panic, even though it's not real. But I'm healing. I wanted to write this because I know there are others out there who've been through something similar. You're not crazy. You're not weak. You're not paranoid. Some people are broken in ways you can't fix. Some people wear charm like a mask. And some people will burn your life down for the thrill of watching it burn. But if you survive it, you'll never be that naive again. It had been months since I'd heard anything from Sarah. I thought it was finally over. No more threats. No more courtroom drama. Just quiet. Then one rainy Wednesday afternoon, I got a call from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Mark? I froze. It was her. Her voice was shaky. Smaller. Not the razor-edged version of her I remembered. I just wanted to talk. Please. Every instinct in me screamed to hang up. But I didn't. She told me she'd lost her license to practice law, suspended indefinitely pending a full ethics review. Her firm didn't want the PR risk. No one else would touch her. Word had spread fast through the legal grapevine. Even worse? Eric had filed a restraining order against her. Apparently, she'd spiraled after losing the court case, showing up at his apartment, leaving threatening messages, smashing his windshield. I didn't say anything. I messed up. I know. I thought I was smarter than everyone. I thought I could control it. I still said nothing. I just wanted you to know. I'm in therapy now. Real therapy. I'm on medication. I'm not okay. And then she started crying. Real, raw sobs. Part of me wanted to feel satisfied. Vindicated. Even victorious. But I didn't. I felt sad. Not for her, exactly. But for what she could have been. For what we could have been if she hadn't turned into whatever she became. I didn't forgive her. But I didn't scream at her either. I just said, I hope you get help, and hung up. That night, I stared at the ceiling for hours. I kept thinking back to the early years. The laughter. Her goofy impressions. The way she danced barefoot in the kitchen when she thought no one was watching. Were any of those moments real? Or was she always wearing the mask? A week later, I got another message, this time from her therapist. Yes. Her therapist. They were calling to inform me, officially, that Sarah had been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, along with narcissistic traits. That she was in a treatment program and had listed me as an impacted person for optional closure communication. I declined. The therapist respected that. But something about hearing it helped. It didn't excuse what she did. Not remotely. But it made sense. The manipulation. The coldness. The sudden affection, then cruelty. The lies. The sabotage. I wasn't crazy. She really was sick. I wish I could wrap this story up with a bow. Say that I'm 100% healed, stronger than ever, never look back. But healing isn't linear. Some days I feel great. Other days I still double-check my locks. Wake up from dreams where she's standing at the foot of my bed with that fake smile. Sometimes I check her socials just to make sure she's far away and not watching me from the shadows. I'm better. Not whole yet. But better. And I've learned something. Love should never feel like walking on eggshells. A partner shouldn't feel like a performance. And if you ever find yourself constantly wondering whether someone really loves you, they probably don't. Update. A few of you DM'd asking what happened to the woman I was dating. Things didn't work out. Not because she did anything wrong, but because I realized I still had so much internal damage to fix. I didn't want to bleed on someone who didn't cut me. We parted on good terms. Still talk sometimes. I'm working on me now. And if someday the right person shows up, I want to be ready. Really ready. But I'll never again let charm blind me. Never again ignore the gut feeling. Never again excuse cruelty as strength. About a year after it all ended, I was at a cafe in a different city, new place, fresh start. I was sipping coffee, headphones in, reading a book. Someone tapped me on the shoulder. I turned, expecting a barista or someone asking for directions. It was Eric. I hadn't seen him since that blurry photo in the parking lot. He looked tired. A little thinner. Worn down in a way that felt familiar. I took out my headphones. Mark, right? Yeah. Didn't mean to interrupt. Just weird coincidence. Didn't think I'd run into you. I nodded slowly. Neither of us knew what to say at first. He motioned to the empty chair. I nodded. He sat down. Ordered a black coffee. No cream, no sugar. We didn't talk about her right away. We talked about work. Sports. Random stuff. 15 minutes in, he finally said. She almost ruined me too. Turns out after Sarah's breakdown, she had shown up at his parents' house. Screaming. Crying. Saying she was pregnant, which wasn't true. She'd filed a bogus harassment claim against him when he refused to take her back. It got dismissed, but it shook him. He said he went to therapy afterward. 4 months. Told me he still double-checks every woman's story now. Still has panic dreams. We were quiet for a moment. Then he looked at me and said, I know you probably hate me. And you should. But for what it's worth, I didn't know she was married. She told me you were abusive. Said you were sleeping in separate rooms, that you cheated first. My stomach turned. Not because I believed him, but because it was exactly what she would say. I nodded. I don't hate you. I hated the version of you I built in my head. But you were just another tool in her game. He sighed. That's the word for her, huh? A game master. We sat there for another 20 minutes. Not friends. But not enemies either. Then we stood. He offered his hand. I shook it. As he walked away, he said, Hope you find someone good. Someone boring. Boring's underrated. I've thought about that moment a lot. 2 men, both burned by the same fire, meeting like war veterans at a random outpost. There's no happy ending here. Not really. But there's peace. And that's enough for now. If you're reading this and going through something similar, don't ignore the signs. Don't excuse the pain. Don't lose yourself to someone else's sickness. You deserve love that feels safe. You deserve mornings without dread. You deserve someone who builds with you, not breaks you just to watch the pieces fall. I made it out. So can you.